Now, before we understand, before we move any further, it is important that we understand the background to the events that unfold in Champaran. It is very important. Now you must understand, this is nothing but a dramatization of the events that led up to the Indigo movement. This is just a dramatization for you all to understand, to help you understand. Nothing of this sort actually happened. It may have happened. Now, when the British landed on the Indian shores, and the first thing they did was they surveyed the landscape. And what they did was they appropriated that is, took over the authority of all or of the entire arable land. Arable land, fertile land. They took over without seeking the sanction of anyone. They took over the authority of the entire arable land and knew that there were a large number of landless Indian farmers. So what they did was, shrewd as they were, as the British, as the shrewd as they were, as the British were, they called all the landless Indian laborers at one particular place and asked them if they wanted land to grow crops on. Obviously, all landless Indian farmers raised their hands, saying that they did want a piece of land each to grow crops. British knew that the Indian landless farmers were poor. They couldn't give them the amount of money that each land would cost. So what the British did, shrewd as they were, they told the landless Indians, all right, we do a favor, we give you landless farmers a piece of land each, which we will call a land holding, which will be called a land holding. And by not asking any amount of money, we are doing you a favor. So you also must pay us back in kind. Don't pay us back in cash, pay us back in kind. In a similar way, reciprocate this gesture of our being considerate, of our consideration. So they asked, by way of giving back what they had, by way of giving back the favor that the British had given to the Indian farmers, the British said, okay, we don't want any money from you. We know you are not in a position to. Therefore, you must do us one little favor, and that is, on 15 on 15% of your land holding, grow Indigo. Grow Indigo. Only on 15% of your land holding. Each one of you grows 15% of land, 15% of Indigo on the land that we have donated to you. By way of favor, by way of returning this favor, grow 15% of Indigo. The farmers said yes. Farmers agreed. Farmers agreed. And as a result of this agreement, the share cropping system started. Share cropping system started. And it continued. And over a period of time, the Indian farmers started resenting this system. Started resenting this system. They did not like it. There may have been reasons which Louis Fisher does not describe, does not talk of. But the fact remains that the Indian farmers started resenting this practice. Fine. But there was no one to stand up against the British, to lead the Indian sharecroppers and stand up against the British, to express their resentment. So the resentment kept on building. Now, what happens, even as there is a build-up of resentment among Indian sharecroppers, what actually happens is and there was one very important part of this agreement. The British told, you will grow Indigo, 15% of your land holding would be cultivated Indigo on. Indigo would be grown on this. You would surrender the entire crop to us. What we do with it, you don't have any business to. What we do with it, the Indian, being gullible, they agreed. And the sharecropping system, as I've told you, evolved. So what the British would do, the entire harvested crop which would be surrendered to them, they would sell in the European market. Sell in the European market, earning huge profit. And the gullible Indians were unaware of it. The gullible Indians, illiterate Indians, unlettered Indians were unaware of this. However, it is so the practice continues for so many years, and one very important development takes place.